Before you decide to move to St. Louis, there are a few things you deserve to know. Every city has its strengths, but it also has challenges that can catch newcomers completely off guard. Today, we're covering 7 reasons people end up regretting their move to St. Louis, and some of these may surprise you. If you're researching neighborhoods, comparing cities, or planning a move to the St. Louis area, this channel is all about helping you make confident decisions. Consider subscribing so you'll have reliable information throughout your relocation journey. My goal isn't to convince you to move here or to scare you away. It's to give you an honest look at what living in St. Louis is really like so you can decide if it's the right fit for you. I've spent plenty of time getting to know this area, and while there are many reasons people love calling St. Louis home, it's definitely not the perfect fit for everyone. From unpredictable weather and confusing city boundaries to transportation, allergies, and one topic that always sparks debate, we're breaking down the biggest drawbacks so you can make the most informed decision possible. Be sure to stick around until the end because the number one reason is the one most people never expect until after they've already moved. Reason number 7, the weather can be brutal. Let's start with something almost everyone notices within their first few weeks here. Reason number 7 is the weather. And if you've never lived in the Midwest, it can be one of the biggest adjustments. St. Louis experiences all 4 seasons, which sounds great until you realize they can all seem to show up in the same week. Summers are typically hot and very humid, with temperatures climbing into the 90s and heat indexes that make it feel even warmer. Step outside in July and you'll understand why people plan their day around the air conditioning. Then there are the thunderstorms. Spring and early summer can bring heavy rain, high winds, and the occasional severe weather alert. On the other end of the spectrum, winters can range from mild to icy with snow and freezing temperatures, making commuting even more challenging. The biggest surprise for many newcomers is just how unpredictable the weather can be. You might leave the house wearing a jacket in the morning and wish you had shorts by that afternoon. Now, that doesn't mean the weather is bad all year. Fall is absolutely beautiful and spring can be gorgeous when the temperatures cooperate. But if you're looking for year-round mild conditions, this probably isn't the city for you. Knowing what to expect ahead of time makes adjusting much easier. But if the weather doesn't bother you, the next reason might. Reason number 6 is limited public transportation. If you're moving from a city where you can rely on trains, buses, or simply walk almost everywhere, St. Louis may require a bit of an adjustment. While Metrolink and Metrobus serve portions of the region, they don't reach every neighborhood or suburb where many people choose to live. Because of that, owning a car is almost a necessity for most residents. Whether you're commuting to work, running errands, taking the kids to activities, or exploring everything the area has to offer, you'll likely spend a lot of time behind the wheel. The good news is traffic here is generally much lighter than in larger metropolitan areas. Parking is also easier to find and far less expensive than in cities like Chicago or New York. Still, if your goal is to live completely car-free, St. Louis may not meet your expectations. Before choosing a neighborhood, think carefully about your commute and the places you'll visit most often. Picking the right location can make everyday life much more convenient. Speaking of driving, reason number 5 is the roads and infrastructure. Like many older metropolitan areas, St. Louis has its share of aging roads, bridges, and utilities. If you've lived in a newer city, this is something you'll probably notice fairly quickly. Potholes can become a regular annoyance, especially after winter, and the road construction is common throughout the year as crews repair and improve the infrastructure. While those projects are necessary, they can lead to detours, slower commutes, and a little extra patience behind the wheel. The good news is that traffic usually isn't the biggest issue. Most people can still get across the metro area in a reasonable amount of time, even during rush hour. The challenge is more about navigating construction zones and uneven pavement than sitting in bumper-to-bumper traffic for hours. For most people, this isn't a deal breaker. It's simply one of those everyday realities that comes with living in a well-established city. The upside is that those improvements are designed to make getting around even better over the long run. Now, we've covered some of the practical challenges. The next topic is one that generates the most questions from people thinking about moving here. Reason number 4 is probably the one you've heard about the most: crime. If you've spent any time researching St. Louis online, you've likely seen the headlines, rankings, or comments that make it sound like the entire region is unsafe. The reality is much more complicated than that. One of the biggest mistakes people make is treating all of St. Louis as if it's the same. The city of St. Louis and St. Louis County are separate governments, and the metropolitan areas includes dozens of municipalities, each with its own character, amenities, and safety profile. Just like in most major metro areas, some neighborhoods experience significantly more crime than others, while other communities are quiet, family-friendly, and highly desirable. That's why researching individual neighborhoods is so important. Where you choose to live will have a much bigger impact on your experience than the city's overall reputation. Talk with local residents. Visit neighborhoods at different times of the day. And if you're relocating, work with someone who truly understands the area. Could crime be a reason not to move here? For some people, absolutely. If safety is your top priority, you'll want to spend some extra time researching neighborhoods before making a decision. But if you write off the entire region based solely on headlines, you could overlook some fantastic communities. The goal isn't to avoid St. Louis, it's to find the part of St. Louis that's right for you. And that leads directly into our next point. Reason number 3 is something almost every newcomer experiences: the confusing relationship between the city of St. Louis and St. Louis County. Many people assume they're one local government, but they're actually separate. When someone says that they live in St. Louis, they may be referring to dozens of different municipalities throughout the metro area. Communities like Chesterfield, Baldwin, Kirkwood, Creve Coeur, Maryland Heights, and Webster Groves all have St. Louis mailing address, yet each has its own local government, police department, school district, and sometimes different tax rates. At first, this can make your home search feel overwhelming. Two homes that are only a few miles apart may have completely different property taxes, municipal services, or school districts. The good news is that once you understand how the region is organized, everything starts to make much more sense. Spending a little extra time researching before you buy can save you from surprises later. Now, here's something many people never think about before they move. Reason number 2. Reason number 2 is seasonal allergies. If you've never struggled with allergies before, St. Louis might be the place where you discover you have them. The combination of the Mississippi and the Missouri River valleys, abundant trees, grasses, and changing seasons creates high pollen counts throughout much of the year. For many residents, spring is the toughest season, although allergies can linger well into the summer and fall. Of course, not everyone experiences allergies the same way. Some people barely notice them, while others depend on allergy medicine during certain times of the year. If you already deal with seasonal allergies, it's something worth considering before relocating. Fortunately, most residents learn how to manage it by monitoring pollen forecasts, limiting outdoor exposure on high pollen days, and working with their healthcare provider when needed. So what's the number one reason not to move to St. Louis? The number one reason not to move to St. Louis is simple. It isn't the right fit for everyone. Every city has its own personality, pace, and lifestyle. Some people move here and fall in love with the affordable housing, incredible restaurants, passionate sports fans, and strong sense of community. Others realize that they were looking for something different. Maybe you wanted extensive public transportation, year-round mild weather, or the energy of a much larger city. That's perfectly okay. The key is understanding your priorities before making a move. Visit different neighborhoods, spend time exploring the area, talk with locals, compare communities. The more research you do before relocating, the happier you'll likely be after you arrive. There isn't a perfect city. There's only the city that's the best fit for you and your family. So those are the 7 reasons you may want to think twice before moving to St. Louis. From the unpredictable weather and limited public transportation to aging infrastructure, neighborhood research, city and county confusion, seasonal allergies, and simply making sure the lifestyle is the right fit, there are definitely some trade-offs to consider. But here's the one most important takeaway. None of these reasons automatically means St. Louis is a bad place to live. In fact, for many people, the affordable housing costs, diverse neighborhoods, amazing restaurants, professional sports, free attractions, and welcoming communities far outweigh the challenges. Every relocation is personal, and the best decision comes down to your priorities, your budget, and the kind of lifestyle you're looking for. If you found this video helpful, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more honest insights about living in St. Louis, neighborhood tours, real estate updates, and relocation tips. If you're planning to move to the St. Louis area and have questions about a specific neighborhood or community, leave a comment below and reach out. I'd be happy to help you make your move with confidence. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.